You are now listening to blossom.wav on 3.17 Growth FM.
Can you dig it, sucker?
And just like that, man, the myth, the legend, the God, I'm back with episode 2. Episode 2 is called Wheninrome, and if you already know by the title name, wheninrome is basically giving you, me, to the audience that hopes to listen. In this episode, I'll be discussing the biography, how it came to be, telework, how I came up with the flyer campaign, the goals I have for the podcast, the clothing brand, and goals in general, as well as a conclusion, and giving you the gist for the next episode. With that being said, I hope you enjoy this episode and redefine growth. Little biased biography time. Alright, so as you already know, my name is Rome Edition. I was born November 17, 1998 in Houston, Texas to an African American mother and a Nigerian father. And you know, you might be thinking, man, who gives a fuck about your childhood, nigga? Who gives a fuck? I care. That's how I started this shit, so I can start talking to y'all. But you know, yeah, I was born to an African American mother and a Nigerian father. And you know, to be honest with you, my childhood was pretty decent. I say decent because, you know, my father was deported. And you'd be like, damn, bro, God damn, bro, you gonna start it like that? Yeah, I'm gonna start it like that. My father was deported when I was younger, and I have to say, that shit right there, man, that shit really traumatized the dude. I kind of joke around and kind of laugh it off and everything, but to be honest, it was really saddening. And, you know, being raised in a household where you expect to have two parents all throughout your life, and then come to a drastic end like that, it's like, damn, bro, what the fuck? But yeah, my father got deported when I was younger, and it was mad saddening. I was young as hell, crying my tears out when I was young, and I think it's really a really defining point in my life and what I do now, because I really empathize with people that have had their parents being deported, or just anyone that had any family member that wasn't there, specifically a parent, because, you know, we need our parents. We need two-parent households, in my opinion. But, you know, with my father passing, or my fault, not even passing, with my father being deported, it made me the man I am today, because that made my mother a single mom, and me being the youngest of four and everything, I just remember her fondly just trying her best to make sure that we were all taken care of and all good. And, you know, I appreciate her for that, because, you know, without her being my muse and everything, I would never be the man I am today. I remember her fondly just letting me be creative and do anything that I wanted as far as arts were concerned. I remember whenever she let me go on Microsoft Word and do these poems and everything, and even though the computer ink was mad expensive and everything, she still let me print it and everything. Also remember whenever she gave me these massive markers, crayons, colored pencils and shit like that for Christmas one time. And, you know, I just remember her just always allowing me to be creative, and I appreciate her for that, because without her, you know, I would not be the man I am today, creative-wise at least. And, you know, I appreciate her. She's a muse, she's a friend, she's a confidant. And you may be thinking, man, nigga, you just say friend about your mom? You black, you ain't supposed to be friends with your mom. And yeah, I know it's our culture, you know, you ain't supposed to be friends. They always gonna tell you, I ain't one of your little friends. But I just remember her just being a friend as I got older, because I remember just sharing everything with her and just being so comfortable around her that we friends. And she even told me this herself, so yeah, I'm not even bragging. I'm not even bragging. She told me I was a friend, so not many people can say that shit about their moms, but that's what she said, and I just appreciate it. Back on to the Houston story, though. I was born in Houston and everything, more so Fifth Ward when I was younger, and I just remember also my mom just allowing us to be free, you know, have fun. But, you know, as she allowed us to have fun and everything, she's also a disciplinary, and she always wanted us to be safe, because with us being in Fifth Ward and everything, and specifically in the hood and everything, we could be falling under the influence of anything that was terrible. And, you know, I just remember her fondly of just allowing us to have PlayStation 2 games. I remember playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I remember having a GameCube. I remember having all this shit and everything, so I wouldn't fall victim to, you know, the shit that was outside. And I appreciate her fondly again for that, because honestly, man, I could have easily fallen victim to that shit. And, you know, what she did allowed us not to actually become victims for that. And I appreciate her again for that. As I grew up in Fifth Ward and everything, I just remember having all these experiences, getting beat up, jumped, because I was like, I was really, I ain't gonna lie to you, I was a lame ass nigga when I was younger. I was just like, I was just really lame, and I just was really impressionable. And being that way, I was just a kid that always got picked on. I always used to be that guy that be like, yo, man, like, yeah, this nigga easy lick. He a pushover. And I just remember that shit, man. I remember it heavy. It was terrible. But as I get older and everything, just getting into perspective, I wouldn't change it any other way, because you need shit like this to make you grow. If you ain't getting picked on, or if you ain't having all these things that are detriments at the time to make you the person that you are today, then I believe you ain't the person, or you ain't growing. So I appreciate those moments in the long run. And, I just also appreciate her just allowing us to be there. And just, I mean, I'm always talking about my mom, but I appreciate the moment of getting beat up. I appreciate the moment of getting picked on. I appreciate the moment of times where I felt like I was defenseless, because it made me enforce my boundaries I have today. It made me enforce the things that I know today. And if I'm being real too, I'd just like to say that all those factors actually became better as time went along. So as time was like in Fifth Ward, it was time to go. And 2008 was that time to go. And from that year, it was a fond memory, because Hurricane Ike actually occurred that year. And that was a huge event, man. Like, man, shit, that hurricane was terrible, man. That ripped apart the whole goddamn city. And honestly, before that occurred, we actually moved from Fifth Ward to the North Side. And, just like any kid and everything, you're like, yeah, you moving, yeah. Yes, new house, yeah, new school. But honestly, man, nah, I didn't want to go to the new school. I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to finish school where I was at. But I appreciate 2008 occurring, because without Hurricane Ike, without the movement event and everything, telework would never been a thing. And I say 2008 was that time, that year, but unknown to me at the time, because I'm just young. I'm 9 going on 10. I'm just still trying to play, still trying to be naive and all that shit. But 2008 did allow that shit to happen. And it was also the year where I met my friend Rob, and I just remember fondly of meeting that nigga whenever we was in lunch. We have different opinions, or we have different perspectives on what occurred, but I remember this nigga having big ass ears, these big ass Timbs and shit like that. And he handed me a silverware before he went out to play basketball. He probably remembers that shit, just playing basketball and shit like that. But I remember both events vividly. And it was that time where I was like, yeah, man, this guy cool. I really wanted to play one-on-one. I ain't want to play I ain't want to shoot around like he wanted to do. But I wanted to play one-on-one, because I was like, yo, man, we got to play. He's like, nah, we're just going to shoot. Because he did bring that. He did bring his own basketball, so it was only fair to, just shoot around anyway. And what's crazy too, the following year, that from that small encounter, we actually had class in 5th grade the following year in Miss Race class. He remembers Miss Race. And if you are listening to Rob, I know you remember fondly of all the shit that we did when we was in that school. But yeah, so 2009 is whenever we're in 5th grade together, and I would say that actually began the journey to telework. But once again, it was unknown to us, because also that year we met our friend Michael, and Michael was a rapper, and since he's a rapper, I was like, yo, we gotta form a group. Or I'm not saying let me rephrase that. I'm not sure who started the idea of who should be rappers or anything, but I just remember fondly of being in a rap group with him, and we were called Texas Boys first. But the next thing at the time and everything, when we were on MySpace, fucking MySpace, even though we was too young to be on MySpace, I remember actually searching up Texas Boys, and I remember the people actually having a group, and I was like, yo, these people pretty big, man, we got to change our name or we're going to get sued. And when that happened and everything, I just started brainstorming, and once more, I was like, yo, what if we call ourselves AT4 for like our middle initials, Amir, Taiwan, and 4 for Rob being the 4th person. Not, 4 for Rob not being the 4th person, but 4 because he is the 4th Robert. And originally they didn't like that shit. Like, nah, I don't like that. And I was like, all right, yeah, fair, you right. The next thing I just kept on brainstorming. But as I was brainstorming everything, AT4 was our name as we were still progressing. 5th to 6th grade. And speaking of 6th grade too, that's whenever I believe telework became more of a thing, because, we still wanted to be rappers and shit like that. But at the same time, I was like, yo, man, we still gotta come up with a better name, because they didn't like it. I'm not gonna lie to you, they still didn't like it, because I remember Michael fondly still wanted to be called Texas Boys. I wanted to be called AT4 so he cannot get sued. You know, I'm just thinking about like the factors of not getting sued because these motherfuckers already called themselves Texas Boys. But anyway, I'm still going by AT4. I'm still downloading shit. I'm still making things. I downloaded GIMP. I'm still getting familiar with Audacity. I'm just like a real introverted kid because that's all I knew. All I knew was just being inside because my mom just told me not to follow influence under the hood and gangs and shit like that. So as I remember just making profiles and just making all these fake ass album covers, South Park characters, all that stuff, I just remember whenever we were in 7th grade, got to flash forward a little bit. 7th grade is whenever I started making these like album covers and all these artwork to make with my friends because I said, yo, we gotta do everything, or we gotta come up with some art, because 7th grade was also the time whenever Tyler the Creator was blowing up. And you know, I was in 7th grade from 2011 to 2012, and I remember finally of that shit, that Goblin video. I was like, man, what the fuck is this? This nigga ass. This nigga ate a roach. I'm like, ugh, this nigga ate a roach. But I just remember it being a huge influence because I'm like, yo, this motherfucker is actually doing everything by himself. He directing videos, he recording, he making instrumentals himself. I was like, yo, man, this motherfucker mad talented. Because if it wasn't for that fucking Goblin video, I would have never discovered Odd Feature. I would have never discovered half the fucking members of that, you know, group. And from that group and everything, I was like, yo, we got to do everything ourselves. Since whenever the DIY was like paramount in that era. And I remember also too, these group of rappers in our neighborhood, they were called Urban Climax, and they were doing everything that I hope we would do, you know. They had this dude that was making beats. They had a whole group of just rappers, and they were actually doing shows, man. They selling tickets. It was like selling shows. I'm like, yo, man, we can do that shit too. We dope. We do everything. You know, we make art, we produce, we actually record. I mean, granted, we wasn't recording on like some equipment like they were. We using Turtle Beach microphones and shit like that. But you know, we still recording. It still sounds good. But I remember I asked the member, or my fault, not the member, but the founder of Urban Climax. I was like, yo, bro, like, why do you call yourself Urban Climax? And he told me that the reason why he called it Urban Climax is because they urban, but they trying to get to the top. And in me, 7th grade, I was like, yo, that's fucking dope. And you know, I'm young. I'm still thinking it's dope and everything. And honestly, it still was dope because, you know, I was in 7th grade learning about the exposition plot and all that shit. And like, yo, Climax, I get it. Clever ass motherfucker. But anyway, I really liked it. And I was like, yo, okay. But he came up with that dope ass group name. It's my turn. So continuing to make like album covers and GIMP and South Park characters and shit like that. I remember just like coming up with all these titles because I'm like, okay, not the titles, my fault. I remember just coming up with all these names and messing around with this font. I remember the font vividly too. It's whenever fucking, it was the Drake Club Paradise font whenever Take Care came out. And when it came out, I was like, yo, I gotta find that font. So I downloaded it to my computer. I'm messing around with it. And originally I came up with food to eat because, you know, we hungry, we trying to eat some food. But next thing you know, I started messing around with it and everything. I was like, yo, we the future. We trying to be futuristic. We trying to go to the top. And I was like, okay, what can I name it? And telework became that name. And telework was spelled TELEWARPED. But next thing you know, it's also abbreviated TELEWRPED. And I was like, okay, this shit's fire. Telework. And next thing I showed it with Rob. He's like, yo, this shit's fire. If I'm not mistaken, he's like, yeah, this shit's fire. And next thing I was like, yep, I know it is. And next thing they of course, questions are asked, like, what's that mean? And I was like, yo, we the future, bro. Like, we just futuristic. And that's what telework means. And it's nothing but up. And nothing but up is like an acronym for underground profits, unappreciated people. It's an acronym for anything. But underground profits and unappreciated people is the common names for nothing but up whenever you see the slogan. And that's how telework became to be. We still rappers at the time. I still have to mention, we still rappers. We still doing this shit. But then eventually, somewhere along the way, I was like, man, I don't want to be a fucking rapper. But that's before I met my boy Curve, because Curve is who we met in 9th grade. And this guy, Curve, man, I gotta tell you, this guy mad talented. He was doing everything by himself. He was like writing things. I remember vividly of this nigga just spamming me with these fucking lyrics, beats, all that shit whenever I met him in 8th grade, before I met him in person in 9th grade. And, you know, he's just like a mad, ambitious rapper, just still doing it and still writing everything, doing everything by himself. And, you know, just around the time I still want to be a rapper. Not like he was mad competitive too. I was like, yo, okay, he gonna come with this, I'm gonna come with that. He gonna come with that, I'm gonna come with this. And you know, he brought that energy to Rob and I as we were in high school. And I remember fondly of him coming to Rob's house on Garden City, Northside, Houston, and we had the fucking band hero mic, Audacity on our fucking school laptops, and we just recording. And it just brought like a mad competitive energy to the group. But at the time, I have to admit that he wasn't a part of the group. He was just doing things solo. I'm not sure what time it took him to actually come with telework and everything. But along the way, whenever he did, I was like, yeah, man, this shit gonna be fire. This shit gonna be fire. And this is also around the time where I was like, man, I don't want to be no rapper anymore. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, my dreams became more realistic. I wanted to do more graphic workshops and like yearbook. I was doing photography. I was just doing things behind the scenes. And I seen how it looked behind the scenes where I was like, yo, man, I gotta take what I learned here and bring it to the group. So I did photography for us. I tried to get better with my graphics. I tried to do everything, I'd say, within my power to actually make us look more marketable, to make us look more presentable. Because I believe that we are the future. We are dope. And, you know, it's going to take a minute for people to see, but we dope. But anyway, that's how telework became to be. And it started from rapping to, you know, just, you know, doing things that are not just rap. Because, you know, everybody want to be a rapper. But then how many people, you know, friends that you know can do music, the public affairs, the photography, you know, just anything besides that. We was like Brockhampton before Brockhampton, but, you know, Brockhampton got big, and, you know, I got to give props to them because they was from Texas as well. They was from San Marcos, and they was doing shit that I wanted to do when I was in middle school. So props to them, and, you know, thanks for being like an OG for us, and, you know, providing the recipe to the audio, to the mass that know, like, hey, yo, man, we got some creative motherfuckers in Texas, man. You ain't got to just be from California or fucking New York to be a creative, and a creative group at least. So appreciate y'all, and thank you. I'm giving y'all flowers a lot, man. I appreciate y'all sincerely. And speaking of flowers and everything, I have to talk about what happened with the flower campaign, man. The flower campaign is the clothing brand in which you see me post a lot or promote a lot, and, you know, it's just been a childhood dream. I tell my friends all the time that, you know, you have to nurture your inner child, and part of nurturing your inner child is doing things that you always wanted to do. As you already heard previously in the podcast and everything, I moved to Northside, Houston in 2008. And 2008 2008 was the time, I believe, or my fault, let me rephrase that. 2008 me is the child that I'm trying to nurture to this day, because I was really naive, I was ignorant, I was just trying to have fun, but I was actually trying to do the things I really enjoyed doing, but I didn't have the means to do. So 2008 me, hey, man, look how far you came, I have to say. And I fuck with you. Yeah, he'd be like, man, what you might be thinking, man, what the fuck are you talking about, Rome? I'm saying I fuck with you, Rome. I'm fuck with you. No, I'm fine. Let me rephrase that. You might be wondering, what you mean by that? What do you mean by what I fuck with you? What I mean by that is actually, I fuck with my younger self. And, you know, part of nurturing your inner child is, would you fuck with you? Would you fuck with your younger self? You know, that's a question I ask myself all the time when I do things, or that's a question I ask myself whenever I engage in any product of Flower Campaign or telework. And honestly, I have to say that, you know, that's a question you got to ask yourself constantly as you are grinding to do creative work, because it does get discouraging. It does get, you know, saddening at times whenever you feel like you ain't gonna do anything. But at the same time, as you remember how far you came from when you were younger to now, that'll drive you even more to do more. So that's what happened. 2008 was actually the time I realized, like, yo, I want to do a clothing brand. And part of us being in Texas boys and everything, I remember Mike and I just like drawing these fucking, our school shirts and everything. And we used to just draw these fucking designs with Sharpie. And we used to call it Young and Reckless. Yeah, Young and Reckless. Yeah, nobody came up with that shit, right? But next time I got older, I was like, man, this shit is actually a thing. Let's call it Young and Reckless. That's a whole clothing brand. They got a whole goddamn thing. And they actually do stuff with it. So once again and everything, I was like, yo, we got to do something better. Because we can't call ourselves Young and Reckless. That's already a fucking name. Because I remember someone told me that shit in like middle school. They said, yo, that's already a name. You know that, right? Or they say, I think that's a name. I said, nah, that's our brand. That's our brand. But then next thing you know, with them telling us that, I looked it up and it was a fucking name. And like I told you, I was a naive ass nigga. So it was a name. But anyway, the flyer campaign came from 2008, us drawing on shit, and then eventually with me just thinking a lot. Because I remember my boy, gotta give credit to my boy here, man, Jonah. He actually inspired me to actually do the clothing brand. He said, hey man, why don't you start your own clothing brand? Because he saw that I was like helping other people with their designs and everything. And he said, hey man, why don't you just do it? And you know what? I appreciate him because, you know, without him actually giving me that driving factor, I would never have done it. And I would say flyer campaign started when I was 20 years old on my second deployment. And the second deployment was me just saving money. I was like, yeah, man, we're going to have this fun. It's going to be cool. And then, bam, COVID happened. And as COVID happened and everything, we all isolated or we're actually getting quarantined from our ship and everything because the virus had spread to our ship like hard, like mad hard, started from 3 to 17 to 100. And next thing we got to stop pierside and Guam to eventually go to hotels. So around that time and everything, I'm going to the hotel and everything, still thinking about my flyer campaign, still thinking about the brand. And as I'm thinking about it in the hotel by myself, I'm just spending all that time in the hotel just sleeping or just doing things in the sunlight, just looking up resources that I have to do better. And as I'm doing that, I'm just enjoying the process because I used to read a lot too on that second deployment because the virus fucking happened. We can't do anything. We all isolated. We all quarantined. I'm reading a lot. I'm doing all these things to actually improve the brand and market it better. And the book that I remember fondly that which shaped the flyer campaign and shaped the things I do now is called The 1% Effect. And I'm going to find out the artist. I'm not going to lie to you. Or I'm sorry. I'm going to find out the author eventually. But right now, just know the book name is called The 1% Effect. And The 1% Effect was a really good book. I'd say that really impacted me to actually just start anything and everything. And flyer campaign was any and everything. So whenever I read that book and I'm just doing the things that it tells me or just the tactics that it tells me, it makes me really enjoy the process because I ain't gonna lie to you. I look at Instagram and I look at, you know, social media. I'm like, damn man, why ain't my shit blowing up? Damn man, why ain't my shit just getting all these views and everything? Damn man, why ain't people looking at it? It made me really enjoy the process because you have to have delayed gratification, and the flyer campaign was delayed gratification. I planted my seeds, and right now I'm still letting it sprout because you gotta let it sprout. You gotta water it. You gotta take care of it. You gotta have a delicate green thumb. You gotta have all these fucking dope ass analogies that I'm using for just growing things. And as I'm, you know, just enjoying the process of the flyer campaign, I'm like, yeah, man, this is dope. I'm finding people along the way. I'm finding these cool ass apps. I'm finding all these resources, and the flyer campaign was actually just a really dope experience to start whenever I was in quarantine. And eventually after quarantine ended and everything, I'm just still thinking about all these things I want to do after deployment, still with the COVID new and fresh to the ship and still adhering to the rules on the ship. I'm like, okay, babe, when I get back to San Diego, I'm about to actually start this shit. Went to San Diego after the deployment and everything. We come back to a whole goddamn new San Diego. You know, mask enforced, social distance, all that shit. And, you know, I found this guy who actually did my first design, and I found the screen printer. I'm like, yes, man, I'm finding everything's aligning. It's aligning. Yes, finally. But then next thing you know, I was like, man, I got to do better. Because after this happened and everything, I sold like 12 shirts, making $300 in one day. We go on another fucking deployment. I'm like, God damn, back to back, bro. The fucking double pump. I'm fucking tired, bro. But next thing you know, I appreciate the deployment once more because I had this tablet I was drawing in. I had all these things I was just writing and scribing in. And eventually I'm just like, yo, this shit is going to be amazing whenever I come back from the second deployment. And it did. Around that time and everything, I found another designer that actually does work great for, you know, a great ass budget, which we have. I found stickers. I found good ass people in San Diego. I'm finding all these resources that I have had and I still use to this day for the flyer campaign. And it's just an amazing feat to just do because whenever you embark on anything, you want to enjoy the process and you got to have that delayed gratification for it. And I appreciate it. You know, the goals that I do have for the flyer campaign is eventually just to have people, you know, purchase more, of course. But, you know, I just want it to be honestly a premier streetwear brand to where people be like, yo, this shit's fire. And I want it to be on the names of Stussy or, you know, let me dare say fucking, you know, fucking awesome or Supreme. I don't want it to be like a skateboard brand, but I just want it to be like a lifestyle brand where it'd be like, damn, okay, this shit's fire. And eventually I want a celebrity to wear it. And other goals that I do have for the telework is to have my boys on, you know? I don't like seeing my boys struggle. I don't like seeing my boys be so fucking talented and be selfish with it. And by that, I mean, like, I don't want my boys to be selfish with their talents that they do have, that they can express to the world and get some fucking credit for it. Because these motherfuckers mad creative. These motherfuckers mad original. And all these fucking saturated stuff that's on the internet today, I'm like, yo, bro, you gonna be selfish if you don't share this shit with the world. And I tell my friends that all the time. My boy Rob, good at fucking public speaking. My boy Kerr coming with all these creative fucking themes. And I remember finally this guy making a fucking gospel album before Kanye made Life of Pablo. And I was like, yo, man, you gotta just drop shit, bro. You gotta just keep on doing it. Just don't overthink shit. But the same shit I'm telling them, I'm telling myself because I feel like inadequate at times. Sometimes I have like this imposter syndrome. I feel like, damn, bro, if I'm feeling that way, how am I gonna tell my boys that? But that's a dilemma, you know, the dilemma of person, or what's the leader if he isn't reluctant, should I say, instead of stammering. What's the leader if he isn't reluctant? And I just I just remember just doing that, encouraging my boys to do what is unique to them. The goals for the telework is just hopefully get them on and get their recognition, and we will. I'm not gonna lie to you, we will. It's been a long goddamn time coming, and we gonna get it. The other goals I have for myself personally is, you know, hopefully getting in the house, man, getting out of this fucking debt and the generation of poverty, getting my dad back to the States. Man, it's gonna be dope. It's gonna be dope, and I'm retiring my moms too. I want to let you know that I'm retiring my moms. I could go into more goals and everything, but I just want to give y'all a little gist of that shit. But just know it's gonna happen. Manifestation is real. Doing things is real. Planting seeds is real, and we gonna do it. You just gotta believe in yourself. But you know, as I conclude this episode, I just want to give a little gist of the next episode. If I do have my guest, man, she's a dope ass individual, man. Her name's Aurelia. Aurelia has been my homie since 2016. Whenever I moved to Willis High School, and she's an amazing being. Really kind hearted, makes me feel loved. I ain't gonna lie, you know, she's really amazing. And in this episode and everything, we're just gonna be talking about psychedelics, of course. Haha, psychedelics, anything that's, you know, ego death, as well as just the world around us and how we can grow. I hope you enjoyed it. This is episode 2, When in Rome.
Wake up every morning feeling like I killed it. Feeling accomplished, ain't even in the building. Top floor, salary triple figure, financially stable, mentally stable, granted table, where you at?
Welcome to the mansion, feeling like a playboy. Money flows like a river, you better get ready, we finna deliver. My past is behind me, I don't look backwards. Not expecting no money, I'm not a magician, I don't pull no hat tricks. Life got me in a direction, pushing ahead. Chopping clash like a valedictorian.
You are now listening to blossom.wav on 3.17 Growth FM.
Can you dig it, sucker?
You can't go nowhere but up, dog. That's it. And I told the boy, bro, we gonna do this shit the right way, bro. We ain't gonna step on no fucking toes, bro. No toes. Bitch, we walking on our own path.
How many